Okay, we're live.
Hey, Christophe.
Hey, Joan, and hello everybody, and welcome to this live LinkedIn streaming event around healthcare, around artificial intelligence in healthcare. So my name is Christophe Steenhaut. I'm a product consultant at 3M Healthcare Business Group. I'm also a member of the Young Professional Committee and the Innovative Healthcare Committee. And today I have the honor to host our speaker, Joan Van Loon of IBM. So, Johan, how are you doing today?
I'm fine. It's sunny. I first wanted to sit outside, but I decided to stay inside. So.
Yeah, me too. It's a beautiful weather. And, you know, in these Corona times, I start really to enjoy these little things in life. For example, just cutting my hair, you know, it's first time in life. I appreciate cutting my hair.
I haven't had the chance yet, so...
But okay, I'm happy to have this discussion with you today, Lohan. I think we really will learn a lot. And for those who are watching us, please make yourself comfortable, take something to drink, something refreshing. And so today we have the opportunity to discuss AI topics on healthcare. And so during this session, please don't hesitate to send your question via text in the live chat box, and we try to respond to some of them at the end of our discussion. So, Johan, let me first maybe introduce your background. You have a degree of health economics, applied economics, and nursing. So you're an economist, and you started your career at Provinciaal Instituut voor Hygiëne in Antwerp. You entered the consulting sector at PwC, and then you continue your journey at IBM, where you are now a board member of IBM Benelux or Belgium Luxembourg, also the spokesperson of IBM Belgium and sales unit director of public sector life science, telecommunication, energy and utility. So yeah, I can say a quite broad experience in healthcare and AI, and happy to have you here to see how we can apply AI in healthcare.
Thank you.
Maybe also something interesting, you're also an ambassador of IBM Watson, so I think there is a clear link that we can make where AI, and I think you can tell us more around this later on. So, okay, and also I would like to especially thanks the people who organize this event, the Young Professional Committee. And for those who don't know the Young Professional Committee, actually, it's a group of young professionals, and our mission is really to stimulate and to optimize the dialogue between young professional and the American Belgian business community. So we provide you a platform where you can get in touch with young professionals, with senior leaders, with CEOs, and through the events we organize, you have really the opportunity to get great career advice from CEOs, learn from each other, network with each other. So don't hesitate to follow our next event and to follow up on AmCham Belgium LinkedIn profile. So and if you have any other question, feel free to reach out to me. So right, that being said, Johan, let's get started. Expectations are quite high when it comes to AI, I would say. So can AI really be the new grail in healthcare? Or what are your takeaways on that?
Yeah, well, you know, healthcare is a complex beast, and there's still a lot of unknown and unanswered questions. That there's a lot of data which is still untapped. Also, we know all about clinical data. We start working with some genomics data, but then there's a lot of other data which we're still not using. So, is it ideal for AI? Yes. Is it the holy grail? Well, that depends on what you expect. I mean, if you think it will solve and cure all diseases, then no, it isn't, because we don't have the information to have all the answers. But if you think about helping to address some of the major problems in healthcare, like shortage of resources, like the cost issue, like the fact that not a lot is evidence-based yet, the cost of drug development, the efficiency of health workers and things like that, then the answer is clearly yes. If you think about Can AI provide new insights, new outcomes? Can it discover hidden knowledge? Can it be faster and more efficient in digesting information? Can it ask the right questions? Can it improve the confidence in what we're doing in healthcare? Then the answer is absolutely yes. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that. So maybe let's take a step back, Johan, and for those who aren't familiar with AI, can you tell us what AI is and what the different types of AI we have?
Yeah. Yeah, indeed, and that's a good question, because basically a lot of people talk about AI, and in fact they're not really talking about artificial intelligence as a whole. So there's a lot of terminology like advanced analytics, you have robotics, you have machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing. So these are all elements which are intelligent, but they are not AI. They're part of AI, but they don't constitute the full-fledged idea of AI. So if you think about AI or artificial intelligence, you basically think about making a copy of a human brain. So building a cognitive solution which can think like humans do. So basically, it are systems that are no longer programmed, but they are learned, they're thought. So, and the concept of artificial intelligence is that these systems can understand the world like we humans do. So they can digest information, look at information, read text, images, whatever, just like we as humans do. They can reason about this information, so make connections, put things together, and come up with answers on questions we have. And they learn from every interaction they have with the system and every result that comes out of it. Of course, if you have a system like that, which can understand, reason, and learn like humans, and sitting in a corner, it doesn't help us. So one of the important things is also the interaction with the humans. So the interact part is also very crucial in AI. Now, if you talk about where we are with AI, then we are far from what we call the general AI, or what we call really revolutionary. So today we are somewhere between narrow AI and a bit broader. So it's emerging technology still, and there are already some broader aspects that are disruptive in the industries. So to make it simple, think of the human brain again, and if you simplify it, then you take the left part of the brain. This is where we analyze, this is where we do natural language processing. For that left part, we already have many applications and many solutions today. If you look at the right side of the brain, this is where our senses are, so where we see, where we smell, where we taste, where we feel. There are some applications, but still a lot of that is in research. Think about image recognition and things like that. But if you then look at the rest, the brain stem and the back of the brain, where we have all our emotions like empathy, common sense, morals, imagination, compassion, and things like that, we're far from there. So we're still far from what we call general AI, which is the full-fledged copy of the human brain. With that respect, then also using everything of the human brain, because as humans, we only use a small part of our brain.
Right. So we really can say that humans still have this general part of their intelligence. For the moment on, this knowledge is still not untapped. We have this broad, this small, narrow part of AI, and sometimes this more disrupted part of AI, the right part of the brain where we smell, where we can see, on image recognition and so on. But really, these interconnections, the soft skills and so on, that's really something still part of a human that you cannot reproduce with AI, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So also in these Corona times, I wanted to make a link with that, because there is a lot of talk and discussion about Corona application that can identify people who might have contracted COVID-19, or at least when they contracted it, then you have app who can identify and track people who can get in touch with the infected people. So for some people, it might be a bit scary. Some people might have some ethical and data privacy concern because, Big Brother is watching you. So do you share this concern? And would you have some suggestion on how we could avoid or at least mitigate these ethical and data privacy concerns?
Yeah, well, basically the development of such an app in the context of contact tracing or whatever development you make, it's always the same. So the main concern and the main question should be, what does the app do and what happens with the data in the app? So it's clear that an app and as such is not AI.
No.
On the other hand, AI is there to unlock value out of data, so it needs open, shared, and co-created data. So I think that's an important thing to see. Now, when we talk about privacy issue, with regard to the app, what we're seeing is that a lot of countries today are using this contact tracing, and they really switch to decentralized models where the data is stored locally, so there's no issue or less issue with privacy and security. But that, of course, has a disadvantage that it eliminates the possibility to really analyze the data on a larger level and understand the virus. So you really need to make the split when you talk about AI applications on what are they being used for. Is it about macro level research where you need a lot of anonymous data to get new insights about the disease, or in this case the virus or whatever? Then you don't need personal data, then you don't need private data, you just need a mass amount of data. If, of course, you want to build an application which helps the individual with advice or whatever, okay, then you come into the private part, because it can only work on the information of the individual. So that's a very important distinction, and that's why it's important to always make sure to really describe what the app does and what the data is used for. Now, if you look at the contact tracing issue as such, I think the concern is more about the integration of the data, the quality of the data, the governance of the thing, that the accessibility of getting data, getting people. So can AI help there? No, this is a process issue. This is less of an AI issue. AI is more at the back end, where you really could do the analysis and come to quicker discovery of treatments for the virus, or finding a vaccine or whatever. So in summary, every AI technology that's being developed should, for us, describe in the first instance the purpose and the intent. So it should not, it cannot be black box. It needs to be clear what it is used for and why it is used, and also exclude bias, because bias can be in there through the data, because the data is biased, but also to the developers. I mean, developers have a certain framework, a certain way they work, so they could create bias in the system. So that's why it's important to really describe the purpose and intent, and also to be transparent. So what data is used, what are they, where are they used, why are they used, where are they going to? So that is very crucial to create trust in the system towards anyone, and certainly in healthcare that is crucial. And then the third thing about AI technology is that, for us, development of AI technologies should always be in support of humans. So really to develop applications that support humans, and that's why most of the time we talk about augmented intelligence rather than artificial intelligence, to really augment the humans in taking better decisions and things like that.
Absolutely. And I think also you need to make a trade-off between the risk and the benefits, and the different risk you can have, because depending on the risk, they are different for every stakeholder. So depending on which stakeholder you are, you have different risk and adverse risk or not. So it's
and every technology can be used or misused. I mean, it's not the technology as such that it makes it dangerous. It's how you use it that makes it dangerous most of the time. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So when we also talk about AI, there is this hype of automating processes. You talk all this efficiency and so on. Do we have to fear for job replacements? Does it only, like you said, concern the narrow AI and maybe the routine tasks that will be automated, or will it really go beyond this? What's your opinion on how it will evolve?
Well, I think today we see a rather low adoption yet of AI. I mean, it's still in the beginning phase. And one of the reasons for that is not the technology as such, but it's the lack of skills and available resources. We need people in this new paradigm of AI. So what we think is that 100% of the jobs will change in one way or another. That's clear. I mean, and that's not only related to AI, that's related to technology, to digitization, whatever. So jobs will change. But we really think that AI will have a net positive impact. So it will create more jobs than it will replace. And the reason for that is because really the human-machine interaction is what makes AI strong, what makes it more efficient. So you need humans on the other side of the equation. So this provides new economic and educational possibilities. The human augmentation I already talked about. And it's really about supporting human professionals and empowering people to do higher value work. So take for instance, if you use AI in drug development to quicker come to potential targets for drug development, in the end, AI doesn't give you the final answer. It gives you the insight on what to search for, but you still need to do the research. So a lot of things will still be needed. If you think about the healthcare sector, the social interaction between healthcare workers and patients, that remains crucial. I mean, that's not something you're going to replace by AI. But it is clear that we really need to invest in new skills because AI will have an impact on all our lives, on all our businesses, and all our jobs. So it's crucial that organizations and people invest in that to make sure that they're not left behind.
Yeah, I think actually your same point of view. I think it's really the power of AI will be untapped when we really combine the strength of both of human and the machine, like you said. And machine can be good at predicting things and automating things, but at the end, when you're predicting a diagnosis or you increase the confidence of a diagnosis, you still, like you said, need to have this human judgments to make decisions, and that's where humans come in, and where you need some judgments, ethical judgments. You need empathy for your patients, to get along with your patient, emotional intelligence. And you also need creativity, which maybe a machine cannot have, right? Because when you you bring people together, you brainstorm, you have creativity that's coming, and you can sort out new problems, find new opportunities. So yeah, I think it's really this connection between machine and humans that can bring the added value.
Yes.
All right. Okay. When I think about IBM, I think about software, hardware, maybe some cloud services. And I already told you IBM Watson. What is IBM Watson actually? And maybe it's a good example to show you how an AI program like IBM Watson can be implemented into a company or in a hospital, for example. Can you explain more about this?
Yeah, well, Watson basically is a set of things. So it started out in the beginning as a computer that participated in a quiz program and was able to give those answers and things like that. But today it's a set of things. It's a set of product solutions. It's an ecosystem built on a cloud platform to really develop AI. So what we're seeing in that is the machine learning models, which can be used to help machines to learn faster. There's some pre-built applications like artificial intelligence for operations or a virtual assistant. There's Watson API, so small programs that can be used by other companies to put into their application or solutions. So think about visual recognition, think about text-to-speech, natural language processing, translators, personality insights, tone analyzers. So all these kind of applications that can really enhance the artificial intelligence part of your applications. And then there's the Watson solutions, which are for IT operations, customer service, for financial services sector, but of course also for healthcare. And if I may, I can come back on a few examples specifically for healthcare. So what Watson is today is really infused into workflows and into applications, and all with the same elements to be able to predict better outcomes, to make more accurate predictions, to automate decisions and processes and to optimize employees' time and put them into higher value work positions. So that is what Watson is today in summary, in short.
Okay. And
if
what's
I can go to healthcare examples. Yeah.
Please go. Yeah.
Yeah. So for the healthcare sector, well, in general, AI, we look at three domains. We look at the discover part of finding new insights, finding new information. You have the interact part, so helping humans to make better decisions, and you have the decision or the decide part, so come to better outcomes and have more confidence in what you do. So if we think about discovery, well, in first instance, we can think about drug discovery. So there's the example of research on ALS, the muscular disease, who are looking for targets with regard to proteins to develop a product. So proteins seem to be something that is crucial in the disease. So by using the artificial intelligence, this company was capable and analyzing all the information that was available worldwide. They were capable of identifying 5 additional proteins which were never related to the disease before as targets for research. So this is something where artificial intelligence indeed helps to read and digest a lot of information much quicker and come up with new things. There's another company working on a disease area where they analyzed a lot of patient records and came to the conclusion that, well, a patient with that disease is not a patient with that disease. There are more patients with that disease who react differently to the treatment or to the disease. So it's not like, for instance, you have one diabetes or one epilepsy or one type of that patient. No, there are different cohorts of patients who act differently. So this means that as an organization, you can change the way you do research, and also you can change the way how you market your product with regard to those specificities of those specific cohorts and groups. So also again, a lot of information to analyze there. Then on the decision part, well, we started out in oncology and we're still doing that. So really trying to find better treatment options for patients based on their individual needs, on their individual data, and really saying like, this is the best option. Because like, you know, in cancer treatment and oncology, not everything is known, and for some patients it might be surgery, for others it might be radiotherapy, for others chemotherapy, for others a combination of those. So there's no one answer to a specific problem. Every tumor is different for different people, so to speak. So this is where also based on artificial intelligence and taking into account all the individual patient information, but also all the scientific information, you come to decisions with more confidence. You can say to the doctor, well, think about this treatment because based on this and this and this and this and this evidence, this might be the best solution for your patient. Another example is with regard to clinical trials. So Mayo Clinic in the US, which is one of the, or maybe the largest hospital in the world, they're using artificial intelligence to enroll patients in clinical trials and to match patients quicker with clinical trials. So this also, again, it's the same thing, looking at different sources of information, putting that together and then matching the patients. And if you look at the interact part, so this is where technology helps patients, coaches patients, or give personal advice. You have the example of a diabetes coaching app, because people with diabetes, some want to take sugar and then compensate it with insulin, others sport a lot, so they react differently to the disease. So based on your individual preferences, you get different advice. There is a company called Teva who developed a buffer, and this buffer is linked with our weather company data. So whenever a patient is in the area where the weather conditions are not good for his pulmonary condition, the buffer will give a signal to take a puff. So these are ways of taking these clinical personal data combined with this exogenous data of weather conditions, for instance, and put them together and really help the patient in an individual way. And these are the things that are all, and there's plenty more examples of that live. And then we have all the things which are currently in research, where we, for instance, use image analysis, deep learning to discover patterns of schizophrenia. So to use machine learning on electronic health records for early detection of certain diseases, to use neural networks on scans to discover new elements in diseases. So there's a lot of areas today which are in research with regard to imaging and things like that.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's indeed a huge variety that still needs to be untapped, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and do you, when you, for example, as IBM try to introduce new AI, what are the critical success factors when introducing AI, for example, in a hospital?
Well, the critical success factors, well, it's data, that's clear. I mean, if you don't have data and you don't have the quality of the data, you will not get the answer. I mean, that's logical. The other thing is referring to what I said before, the human skills. So it's really crucial that you have the resources and the skills, that you invest in them, that they understand the technology, that they know what it can be used for, what are its limits and what are its advantages, because it's also clear to know the limits, sorry. And then the other thing is the use cases. Huh? So I mean, it's where are you going to use it? You can use it in your workflows, you can use it in applications, you can use it in solutions. So it's really crucial to think out, like, what are we going to use it for? What is the benefit? What is the objective we want to get out of it? It's not AI for AI. It needs to serve a certain purpose.
Absolutely. It just needs to be part, of course, of your strategy. I mean, if you want to do some differentiation, of course, AI needs to be there for differentiation. If you have a cost strategy, it needs to be part of your cost strategy. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. So when looking at the future, looking, for example, not too far away, 2030, because we don't make hypotheses on 2050. What can we expect from AI, and what can we not expect from it?
Well, we even stopped with predictions that are 5 or 10 years ahead, because we saw that technology moved so fast. In the past, we used to do this thing called global technology outlook, where we looked 10 years ahead to see like what will happen. And most of the time, it went so fast that at a certain point in time, after 2 or 3 years, the solution was already there. But 2030, well, I mean, if you look back at what I said before on the discover, interact, and decide, I think with regard to the discover part, neural networks will become more and more relevant. So everything which has to do with the senses, with images, with computers that can hear, smell, whatever. So that's clear. I think there will also be a lot of advantages made in mental health, because that's an area today where there's a lot not known, and mental health is related to the brain. So if you have a computer that can act like a human brain, of course, you will find new information there. And hopefully we can at least already get from where we get today insight to really curing diseases, to really finding new cures for diseases. So on the interaction part, I think the human augmentation, and then literally human augmentation. So where today we still use a lot of wearables to get information. So we have these patches and things like that, which give information about the human body. There are already some things like ingestibles and things like that. So implementing chips into the human body to really help augment that, that there is already development with regard to a brain chip, which can then help remotely maneuver arms and legs, prosthetic arms and legs, things like that. So that will surely be something that we can look forward to. And then with regard to the decide part, well, for us as individuals and as patients, it only makes sense if what we get as answers or solutions are individual, contextual, and evidence-based. And I think so more and more of these solutions will go in an individualized and contextual context. Like, for instance, take examples like personal genomics and things like that. So I think that's also a clear evolution. For the rest, 2030, well, only 10 years away. I don't have the crystal ball, so...
Yeah, thanks for these insights. Okay. I'm looking at the live comments that we have, so please don't hesitate to post if you have any questions. One question from Astrid Rutz, saying that, okay, we talked about medical application and AI, but what's your view on the wearables? Are there any trends, activities, opportunities in that area? For example, proactive healthcare. So I think, yeah, what can we do with the wearable, with the Internet of Things, all the sensors that we have?
Yeah, wearables is a source of information, is a source of data. Yeah? So yeah. Like I said before, we today a lot of what we do in healthcare is based on clinical data and clinical information, and then you have the genomic data on top. But if you take those two, you still only have kind of like 40% of the total data that's out there, and the rest is what we call exogenous data. And this is data coming from whatever. This is data about the weather, which I gave an example of, but also data about social context. This is data, personal data about lifestyle, sporting style, eating habits, drinking habits. So all these elements have an effect on your health, or have an effect on the way you react to a disease, or have an effect on the way you react to a treatment. So wearables will help us indeed generate additional data. We're doing research today, or we have in research today some prototypes like fingernail sensors, which can basically detect every movement that is made by the finger. So you can easily relate that to some medical diseases, medical conditions where it might be useful. We already know situations like fall detection and things like that. So this all will give us additional information which AI can use to come to new insights and to interpret further. And then, like I mentioned for the 2030 story, yeah, having this no longer as a wearable, but really as an ingestible or an implementable, that will be the future.
Okay, good. Another question from Bart Steenhaut, who say, where do we stand in Belgium in terms of supply and demand of AI?
Well, there is a lot of things that are called AI today. Let's start with that. So, and like I said in the beginning, I mean, robotics, it's intelligent, but it's not AI. So where we stand in Belgium is where the rest of the world is basically standing. So we're between that narrow and broad AI. There are some examples which I can't mention, of course, because it's all under NDA, but there are examples of companies that really working with these AI solutions in the area of healthcare. What needs to happen and what is now going to happen, you will soon see an announcement of that, is for the broad macro level analysis of AI and the need for the large data. So in the US, they already had these large databases with all patient information, anonymized, of course, but it could be used to do the research. In Europe, we didn't have that yet, but that will soon come and will soon be announced. So we're not far, but main reason is not the technology, because technology is the same all over the world. Main reason is indeed the availability of data, quality of data, and specifically the integration of data, which sometimes limits us. And then on the other hand, also, like I mentioned, the need for skills, the need for skilled people and the right resources to do it.
Okay. So I make the link with another question here, who's saying that for now, data is available, but often very siloed per company. I mean, and per industry. So, is there an opportunity that you see that industries will work more and more together to share this data on the condition that they can, of course, because data privacy is a concern, and a lot of institution or commercial party would like to exploit this data and really to benefit from this intra-industry collaboration. How do you think things will evolve on that?
Well, I think there are already examples, specifically in the pharma sector, where companies work together on and share their data, and they work on the same common set of data. Because the more data you have, the more chance you have to find a solution. So sharing data is not the same as privacy issues. Like I said, I mean, it's different, and it depends on what the data look like. But sharing data, so the more data you have, the more open and shared they are, the more you co-create them, the faster you can go to a new solution. And the competitiveness then lies in your experience on how to quickly come to a solution. So how fast can you use the data and do something with it? And of course, there's a lot of open data which is available, which is open source, which is basically available for everyone. And then you have your own specific research data. And this is where your competitive advantage lies. So the combination of the open data, which needs to be shared and open as much as possible, combined with what you have from your own experience and your research, this is why you create your competitive advantage.
Absolutely. Okay, thanks for this great answer. Another question I see here on mental health service. How can AI help on, for example, mental health service? Do you have an example of this?
Yeah, well, this is what we're doing now with schizophrenia, for instance, and that's then with regard to images of the brain, to try and find through machine learning elements to find new connections or new insights on brain images for that. So my ideal is, if you are able to really replicate the human brain, the full human brain, then you can indeed look at all the connections in the human brain which we can't understand today. For us, mental disease is different in a way that we think in our framework. So if you're not mentally ill, if you're mentally sane, you think in your framework, and mental disease people think differently. And for humans, it's very difficult to really relate to that, because you're in different frameworks, so you don't understand. You find it abnormal because it doesn't fit your normal. For a computer, abnormal doesn't exist. I mean, you can build the brain and understand the brain. The computer will not make the assessment that is normal and that is abnormal. So in that way, I think in the future, and then we're not there at all yet, but in the future, artificial intelligence can really help us better understand why there is mental illness and how this works. But again, it all depends on the availability of the data, and there will still be a lot of research to test it. I mean, an AI system is, like I said, it's like a human brain, so it needs to be tested. It's not like you put it in there, you get the answers. No, it needs to be tested, and it needs to learn, it needs to improve itself based on the information and the outcomes that it will get.
Exactly. So are you saying it will be able to explain why you have a mental disease? It all depends, of course, on the data, and the artificial intelligence, as for now, can only develop a new hypothesis based on the data that is in scope. I mean, if the data is not in scope, it cannot develop a new hypothesis, so it cannot respond on its own stimuli, I would say.
No, it can find hidden insights. It doesn't need to be more clear, but somewhere the information needs to be somewhere there. And by putting 3 or 4 pieces together, you might have new insight and you might have new data. And that's exactly simplified how it works. Yeah.
Okay. So when AI, do you see that the quantum PC will increase the progress of AI?
Well, these are two, and I'm not an expert on quantum, but these are two completely different technologies. So quantum helps us in a way to, for instance, in the research and in the chemical industry, to put all these combinations of chemical elements together and to simulate on that. There it will help, and then putting on top of that AI with the data will indeed speed it up. But it's two different technologies, so they both have their purpose. They will both evolve what we can do on a technological way, and we'll both find new solutions. But they're not kind of like the same, or they're not part of each other. So they're two different things.
Okay, thanks. Another general question, I would say, would you see a benefit for, or an application that could benefit aging population? Very general question, of course.
Yeah. I'm thinking, and don't have it at hand, but I mean, again, if you go back to the basics, and it's about discovering, interacting, and deciding. I think for the aging population, there's still a lot of things to discover on diseases. Certainly, people get older and they get more diseases at the same time. And in the past, it was simple: you got a disease, you died, done. But now you get cured of one disease, you get another. So the complexity. So understanding that complexity surely will help. On the interaction, clear. I mean, there's clear things where it can help augment also elderly people in their social life, in their autonomy and things like that. And then also, the decision track. It's about some of the decisions with regard to how to treat, what to treat, what is the best solution for that person in case, is not necessarily only for the elderly, but it's also applicable there. So there are a lot of ways forward, and there are a lot of potential use cases. And that's what I mean. So when people working in healthcare really need to think about these situations, see like, okay, we have this situation here, what are we missing? And how can I help there build a solution for that? And I'm sure we'll come up with thousands of use cases that are possible, and thousands of use cases which can be implemented today with the narrow part of it. So it doesn't need to be all-fledged revolutionary and anything. There's already a lot we can do with the narrow AI to improve situations today in the operations, in the decision-taking, in the prediction process, and things like that.
Yeah. Okay, I think I take the last question. How can healthcare providers, whether in a hospital or primary care or maybe patients in Belgium, also prepare for the coming changes of AI in healthcare? How can they prepare themselves?
Well, I think it's investment. It's investment in skills. Mm-hmm. It's investment in data. It's defining the use cases, like I said. So how do you infuse it into your workflows, into your applications, into solutions? And then it's really about understanding the technology, the limits and the advantages of the technology, but also the privacy concerns. So it's too easy sometimes to say, that's a privacy issue, or that's a trust issue, or that's a transparency issue. There are solutions for that. So, but it's clear you need to understand them. And then if we really take back the principles of when you build an AI application, it needs to be purpose and intent needs to be clear, it needs to be trusted and transparent, and it needs to be ethical. I mean, then we go a long way already, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I think great. There are no more questions, I think. So, Joan, I would say thank you very much. I think you really draw a very nice and clear picture on the potential in AI of healthcare. Personally, I've learned a lot, and I remember a few points. The first things I've learned is that you said, okay, there is more and more data available. Often this data comes from different sources, often unstructured, whether it's text, image, video, speech, the wearables, Internet of Things. But this data is often siloed. So I think we as healthcare professional and industry providers, we need to find a way to process, to integrate, and to exchange this data, right? So then, I mean, that's the first step to unleash the potential of it. Then, like you said, AI can help to better care patients, to find better outcomes, to increase the confidence of a diagnosis, for example. But at the end, it's still the human who has to make responsible decision based on their judgments. And yeah, we need to make ethical decisions. We need to, like we said, we need to have some creativity. Need to have soft skills as well. So, like we said, it's a combination of both a human and a computer who will make sure that AI will unleash its potential. So, and then another thing I think it's also important to mention is not to measure, at least for me, to measure AI in relation to how closely it can stimulate the human intelligence, because for now it's still difficult to do so. But it's still, how can the intelligence be measured? It should be measured on the based on how well it performed by connecting people to the computer. I think for now, for this 10 years, I think that's how you really have to measure the performance of AI. And then, as you said at the end, when developing AI application, we need to clearly explain the purpose, build trust, transparency. So explain where the data is coming from, where it is used for, and so clarify the intent behind what we are building. So overall, I would say, yeah, AI of course has huge opportunity for the healthcare sector. Anything to add, Johan?
No, thank you. I think that's a nice summary, and I'm happy to have this new experience too, because this was a new experience for me. So,
absolutely. We'll continue to do so. So, with this one again, I would like to thank you, and I hope you who are watching us all enjoyed it. And please don't hesitate to follow up with us, with Johan, with myself. Follow on LinkedIn, the AmCham LinkedIn Live, also for the young professional. If you're interested to join us to future events, please don't hesitate. So stay safe and bye now. Okay.
Thank you. Be safe, be healthy.
Yeah, bye.